I'm honored to have been invited to address this session of the National Conference of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. The Ministry of Housing has had a long and cordial relationship with your institute. Two of my predecessors were instrumental in formulating the legislation for the establishment of this institute in 1974, and second, in moving the requisite amendments in 1994 to further strengthen this institution. I take this opportunity to congratulate all the architects who have guided the affairs of the Institute since its incorporation, which has resulted in this organization reaching great heights. While appreciating the architects who banded themselves together as far back in 1956 to form the Ceylon Institute of Architects, the predecessor of the present institute. Over the past few decades, architects in our country have enjoyed a remarkable period of achievement under the leadership of your enlightened institute. With public interest in good design growing exponentially, the quality of buildings designed and constructed have also grown in leaps and bounds. A sustainable body of well-designed work, urban design, housing, public buildings, and leisure and commercial buildings have been constructed in places across the country, especially with the impetus created with the establishment of the Urban Development Authority and the National Housing Development Authority in the 1970s, which pioneered and engineered the construction boom in our country. The architecture of a people is a living expression of its culture and an integral part of its identity, in addition to being a response to the requirement for shelter. Societies are defined and recognized by the things they design, construct, and implement. Most enduringly, they create the buildings and places that accommodate the public and private lives of their citizens. Beyond the practical need for shelter, the accommodation of functional requirements, and the achievement of comfort, people of all societies have demonstrated that their buildings express the highest beliefs and aspirations of their culture, an expression of the human spirit. Insofar as they succeed, their buildings become a form of public art. As well as being the expression of cultural, aesthetic, and social values, the making of architecture is a matter of meeting social and economic needs and of exploiting technological potential. At this present juncture, architecture and the shaping of the wider environment face enormous challenges in confronting issues of sustainability. These are challenges that may require a new perception of the role of architecture and urban design in integrating cultural and environmental responsibilities, and a willingness to confront the inherited practices and technologies of the past. Initiating, designing, and delivering sustainable architecture in our present-day environment presents a significant challenge to this generation of architects. This is a challenge that requires a fundamental reappraisal of the role of architecture and urban design in the context of the need to combat the effects of urbanization and climate change. In rising to the environmental challenges facing our country, there is a need to make informed choices on how we use our existing spaces, buildings, landscapes, and natural resources. Architecture of the past was a result of creative and often adventurous collaboration between client and designer, pushing forward the frontiers of what is possible. The architecture we choose to build now will be the heritage of the future. It will stand as an expression of the cultural, aesthetic, and social values of our country, and shall be a proud statement of the challenges and expectations we seek to address in shaping a sustainable built environment for the future. Most significantly, there will be an evident physical transformation of the built environment. The physical manifestation of urbanization and its associated infrastructure is creating new challenges for the planning and design professions, as well as for the construction industry. I would like to use this occasion to invite your attention to another phenomenon, significant in predominantly agrarian societies like ours. It is the future of our villages and small towns, which are presently in the process of urbanization, that needs your immediate attention and focus. Today, we are in an urbanizing world in which the city is considered the ultimate model. The attention of architects and planners have been focused mainly on the city, while rural spaces are all too often associated with visions of economic decline, stagnation, and dereliction. However, rural spaces too are transforming as radically as cities. Furthermore, rural spaces play a decisive role in the sustainable development of our living environment. They are inextricably linked. The formerly segregated countryside is now traversed by a regular flow of people, goods, energy, and information. Rural spaces complement the growing urban areas as extraction sites, natural reservoirs for food, fresh water, and air, or as leisure spaces. In the present-day globalized world, the once remote and quiet countryside is fast integrating with the larger urban system. As such, today's architect has a prime responsibility to address the role that urban design can play in preparing rural life and space for the future, and defined the role of villages and small towns in our urbanizing country. In addition, future architects and urban planners have to always keep in mind that cities and urban spaces are created and maintained by people for the people. Urban development can only make sense when the community cares about it. It is necessary to empower the communities in order to drive the development that affect them and to guarantee their social relevance. Further, the architects and planners in their emerging role would have to encompass the complexities of the urban environment by admitting to its vast character. Another emerging need, as I envisage, is a need for flexibility in planning. Urban development is about what happens in the city while we try to plan it. You have to therefore think ahead and be always ready to accommodate changes for the better. Rigidity will tend to kill opportunity and participation. urban development is complex and circumstances are consistently in a state of flux. This requires professionals to be open-minded, flexible enough to adapt their roles and skills, and to use non-traditional policy tools to address modern-day policy exigencies. Technological advancement has enabled to create many a propitious opportunity for better interaction amongst various stakeholders and decision makers. The government recognizes the social and cultural importance of architecture in society and urge this institute and its members to build on its solid and sound foundation. It is a duty of the institute as well as of the government to address issues that have arisen over the years by placing more emphasis on sustainable development of the environment and urban design, continuing to encourage and support high-quality modern architecture, incorporating architectural heritage in a holistic, integrated manner, and developing actions which respond to and promote awareness in these areas. We, as decision makers of this present administration, place a high value on the role of architecture in society as an expression of cultural, aesthetic, and social values, both past and present, and the challenges and expectations of the future in shaping a sustainable, high-quality built environment. On a more broader national perspective, let me express a few sentiments which I believe is indispensable for the prosperity of our motherland. If any country or society is to be prosperous, stability is of vital importance. In order to attain stability, the prosperity that one generates has to be equitable and just. Prosperity must be based on equitable redistribution of income, wealth, and resources. When the statistics department in the present administration itself admits that the richest 20% of our country enjoys more than 50% of national income, and when the poorest 20% of our country enjoys a mere 4% of national income, we have to admit the wealth generation, the wealth creation model that our country practices has been an utter failure. We cannot talk of high speeds of economic growth if that particular growth results in creating anomalies within society, creating a vast division between the haves and the have-nots. Therefore, we have to embark on a model which promotes social justice, fairness, and a fair distribution of income and resources. Full-blooded free market economic policies, the so-called laissez-faire economics, is outdated, inappropriate, and irrelevant to present-day Sri Lanka. We have to ensure that we embark on a prudent, holistic economic approach which ensures that we create economic growth which promotes wealth creation and equitable redistribution of resources. On that count, let me remind you of one of the noble initiatives that your institute embarked upon a few months ago. A group of architects mobilized their resources, ensured that part of their earnings were passed on to the less fortunate in our society. These group of architects, combined with the Ministry of Housing and Construction, to donate 2 million rupees for the construction of a community hall, which today is functioning for the well-being of one of the faraway villages in the periphery of Sri Lanka. We in the center must always ensure that the rights, needs, wants of the periphery are fulfilled. If not, we will see more and more examples of social dislocation, social unrest, ultimately resulting in revolutionary activities which our country experienced both in 1971 and 1989. So let me end upon this particular note. I would like to thank the Institute of Architects, an elite group of Sri Lankans, the well-off in society, who took the bold decision to embark on a corporate social responsibility program which exhibited to the whole country that the wealthy in this country do care about the have-nots, do care about the downtrodden. So I congratulate your institute and the particular group of architects who embarked on this noble project, and I encourage you to do more in the future. I would like to conclude by expressing my appreciation for the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, for the many challenges it has successfully overcome in its impressive journey. But while you embark on your journey, please do keep in mind what John F. Kennedy espoused to the whole world. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot help the few who are rich. Thank you.